Tonight on Somerville Neighborhood News. As construction begins across the river, Wynn Boston Harbor President Robert DiSalvio answers our questions on the project and its impact. Coming up on Somerville Neighborhood News. Good evening and welcome to Somerville Neighborhood News. I'm Heather Aveson, News Director. Now that the political dust has settled and the construction dust has begun, I sit down with Wynn Boston Harbor President Robert DiSalvio to find out more about the project. Here's our conversation. Mr. DiSalvio, thank you for joining us today. Massachusetts passed the expanded gaming regulations in 2011. Then Governor Deval Patrick signed that. When did Wynn start thinking about Boston as a destination?
Well, first of all, Heather, thank you very much for having me on. And we really welcome the opportunity to tell the story and give an update to the residents about how the process is going. We started thinking about this actually quite a bit before 2011, probably dating 4 or 5 years prior to that.
Once the regulation passed and you were able to do something concrete, then came finding a site.
And that was an interesting process because we started out working with the Kraft family and thinking about the Foxborough area and how there'd be some terrific tie-ins, both with Patriots Place and the stadium, the team, and there was some property that the Crafts had available in that area. But as we got into that early on, we found out that the community really did not welcome the idea. And there's one thing about these projects, it's very important to go into a community where there's good broad-based support. So when we kind of ran up against that brick wall, we switched gears. Then late Mayor Menino was approached about possibly us going into the seaport area. That was something that was on our radar screen. There was so much development going on in the Boston waterfront. But again, there we were, without even getting too far, we quickly came to realize that the mayor was really not interested in having a resort casino project in the seaport. And so, you know, that really did lead to some other interesting ideas about, you know, where could we possibly go in eastern Massachusetts. And quite honestly, our president, Matt Maddox, had read an article about Hard Rock casinos talking to the city of Everett about the former Monsanto chemical plant site. And it gave us the idea that maybe there was something that was close, relatively close to Boston or on the Boston border. And ultimately that led to some discussions between Matt Maddox, our president, and Mayor DiMaria. And they took a tour of the site. Matt immediately fell in love with the location. Mayor DiMaria was very welcoming, and of course that's critical in the process. We found out there was good community support, and then that led to a visit from Mr. Wynn. And then ultimately we settled on the site. We very quickly came to a host community agreement with the city of Everett. And then ultimately it went to a vote in the community, and it passed with an 86% margin. And that is almost unheard of in any election for anything. Right. And so that made us really feel good that the community wanted us, they wanted the jobs, they wanted the economic development.
Well, it's important for Everett. I mean, here's a large property that is untouchable because of the Monsanto history there, and waterfront. I mean, it wouldn't take much to sort of realize that if someone can come in and develop that, it's going to be
and you know for the city of Everett, and what we heard from the mayor is they had literally been locked out of their own waterfront for like 100 years. And of course this site was extremely challenging. Very few developers would want to come in and spend the kind of money to do the environmental remediation. We're looking at about $30 million in total just for cleanup. Forget about building anything, just pure cleanup.
Had Wynn ever taken on a challenge like this before?
No.
Was this something new?
No. So when you think about it, you know, most of Mr. Wynn's development has been in Las Vegas. So there you're dealing with, you know, also challenging sites, but different. It's desert, and so you don't have. We've never touched a former chemical plant like this. I'm going to grab something here, so if you don't mind, if I could point a little bit. here we've got 33-acre site, so it was a little bit less than what we had hoped for. And quite honestly, of the 33 acres, there's about 8 that are underwater. Because this is all previously filled tideland. So when we thought about the site, we said, well, we could make it work if we take the parking facility and actually put it underneath the main section of the building. Because normally you would put the parking facility adjacent. So for example, if we had more acreage, you'd move it off to the side of the property and then connect it. In our particular case, our garage actually sits directly below the hotel tower and the main part of the casino floor and the public areas.
And is this part of the fill where this is?
Actually,
the main building.
Well, there's
and
a line that
garages?
kind of runs from this area out by the harbor area, kind of right smack through the middle of the building, and that's what was called the Chapter 91 former tideland area, and that's the subject of a very extensive state environmental permit. But we were sort of half in and half out of that. But once you actually touch that area, doesn't matter whether it's a little piece or a large piece, you still have to go through the process.
But I'm thinking
with the
that
state.
if part of it is fill and part of it isn't, that must have been yet
Another
construction challenge.
And yes, and you can imagine digging down. We're putting nearly 3,000 car garage below the building, and of course you see where the water table is.
Right.
So it's a very interesting process. As right now we're out there, you have to literally go all the way down to the bedrock, about 95 feet down, put in foundation walls, create almost like we call it a giant bathtub area, and then you have to literally dig out the center. And so, and take out the bad soil and put that in licensed landfills wherever you can and get it off the site. So there's a lot to it. And
Did it ever occur to you guys that maybe we bit off more than
like a bridge too far?
we could chew?
No, you know why? Because even though we knew it would increase the expense of the job, we felt the opportunity was amazing. And that goes all the way back to the thoughtful job that the legislature did in the enabling legislation. And that is they limited the amount of licenses. They really wanted to kind of spread it around the Commonwealth. So they go with Region A, B, and C for Western, Eastern, and Southeastern. And by not putting all the places on top of each other, I think it accomplished 2 things. Number one, it makes the places good for the long haul because you're not dropping competitors right on each other's doorstep. More importantly, not one of these facilities around the state can, quote, overpower the area. And so I think people always worry about, oh my God, are we going to create a Las Vegas Strip, in the middle of Greater Boston? And the answer was no. We're going to have one facility located in each of the 3 main regions, and we'll try to make sure that they integrate themselves within their community and we mitigate the impacts so that it doesn't dominate the landscape. And it actually, for us, again, going back to why would we take on something as challenging as this? One of the key components of our business plan is international travel. We get a lot of it, and we're very happy with what Massport has been doing as it relates to Logan. Now being up to, I think it's 54 nonstop international destinations. And the idea was that, of course the greater Boston area is going to be an amazing piece of business for us because you've got, over 5 million people in the area. But if you want to draw people from outside the state, outside the country, and really affect tourism, you're going to need the airlift. And Logan's got it. So for us, we looked at the whole Commonwealth and said, boy, we really want to be in the Eastern region because it ties very well with our business plan.
What percentage have you thought about in terms of local, regional, national, international visitors?
Well, because the greater Boston area has 5 million people and they will be able to come frequently, that is going to be the largest piece of the business. And how it winds up being maybe 60%, maybe 65%, but there's another 15-20% that we think would really be a great opportunity for us and really try to introduce some new folks to the tourism, the great tourism area that we have here by coming out of state.
So could you give us a quick lay of the land?
Absolutely.
Tell us what we're going to see.
Sure. And so I'm starting right out here just to orient everybody. This is Broadway in Everett. or Alfred Street. And so that's going to be our main throughput out in front of the project, and there's going to be a brand new entrance created. We wanted to create a very nice landscaped arrival sequence for our guests, and so they come into the project, and right away they have two options. If they feel like they want to park themselves, they'll be able to peel off and go underneath the building. And there's, again, almost 3,000 car garage below the building. If they're going to the hotel or they want a valet park, they skip here, go across around the front of the building and into the main porte-cochere area. We also have a bus drop-off area. We think that we'll be doing quite a bit of motor coach and shuttle traffic. You know, part of our transportation demand management program is to keep as many cars as we can off the street.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yes, I'm sure we are. But for example, things like scooping up folks at Wellington or Malden Center and having them come in by shuttle so they can use mass transit. Everything that we can do to keep cars off the street is extremely important to the overall operation. So here we created a separate entrance. We'll be able to bring in buses or shuttles, drop folks off, loop them around, get them out of the property, bring them somewhere local to park, get them out of everyone's way, and then they'll come back and do their pickups later. So there's really three main entrances: the self-park entrance, the shuttle bus drop-off entrance, and the porte-cochere for hotel guests and for valet parking. Then to orient you on the site, very unique design here, very different from Las Vegas. We totally separated the gaming from the non-gaming assets within the property. So when you come into the main property, this outline is the outline of the 630 room hotel tower. You can literally come in the front door, you can go check into the hotel. You can circulate all the way around from this side and then all the way down through the rest of the retail promenade and visit any of the retail stores, the restaurants, the meeting and convention space. You can circulate vertically up through the tower and go to the next major guest level up, which would be your spa area, your fitness center. That's all up on the third area. And you can do all of that within the building without ever stepping foot inside the casino.
That's a completely different model.
Totally different model.
Is this the first time that this has been done?
I'm not going to say it's the first time, because I can tell you in our project in Pennsylvania, we separated the entrances, and we, in particular, what we found from meeting planners is they like a more peace and quiet setting for their meeting and conferences. So what's one of the reasons why we moved the meeting and convention complex out to the end of the retail esplanade. But we're really trying to separate the gaming from the non-gaming assets. Also, in our particular case, we have the availability of this 6 acres of open space that goes all the way out to the waterfront. And in particular, what we call the South Lawn out here, large area that we can tent for outdoor functions, and whether it's a trade show, a art festival, an antique show, concert. And so combining the end of the esplanade with our about 50,000 square feet of meeting and convention and circulation space with 6.5 acres of outdoor space, it really gave us the punch that we needed. And then from this end of the building back, you have the large area, which is the casino area. And then we have all of our back of the house and central plant. Also, as you can see, the boat dock area here, the water taxi. Again, it's another way to move people without putting them in cars. We'll maybe making a stop in the Seaport, and then stop at Long Wharf, and then having them go directly to the property. We'll also have some slips for private boat operators. They can tie up and go to a restaurant. And so we think that is really different. And it'll be fun and an exciting way to get to and from the property without getting in their cars. So, we took every square inch and tried to make it count, and also not necessarily focus just on the casino part of the building.
That's a great walkthrough. Thank you. So let's move to the surrounding communities.
Sure.
Talk about that a little bit. There are basically 3. I kind of combined 2 of them in my own mind: the transportation, environmental impact, and jobs are so important.
Sure.
So let's talk about transportation first.
Great. Let me start with Sullivan Square, because so much is going on there. The work that we're doing in Sullivan Square is really divided into 2 different groupings. And the first group is what we call more of the interim mitigation measures that we are going to get done before we open. That was extremely critical to be able to take any additional traffic that's coming through Sullivan Square and mitigate it prior to our opening. We are now well along the way in the design process, and the way these transportation projects work, you start with some public meetings and you get a lot of input. You go through the community leaders, you work through the DOT, and then you start the heavy lifting on the design process. Well, we're at the point right now in Sullivan Square of what we call the 25% design. So think of us as 1/4 of the way through. Now we take those plans and we go back through the Boston Transportation Department, we go back through the DOT, we make sure that we've got it right before you move on to more firm construction design plans. That process is going extremely well. You know, everyone thinks of the roadway portion, and some people forget that part of that job is also a complete kind of realignment of the bus stop as well. That is a critical regional bus stop. And one of our projects is to actually make the flow better within the buses coming in and out, and actually the parking lot area. The other big part of that project is improved bicycle and ADA access for anyone who might have a disability or be in a wheelchair. Because as much work as that we're doing on the roads, we're also doing sidewalks and new signals and making sure that people can get to and from the bus stop. In particular, that was critical for residents of Charlestown who actually walk over. We're putting in about $42 million into the Sullivan Square, Rutherford Avenue corridor. You mentioned Wellington. Wellington is also a very critical intersection, and for those that go in and out of Assembly Row, Assembly Square area, that intersection is critical. We're also going to be doing work in Wellington prior to opening, and that's going to include some new signals, some widening of the turn lanes, and to enable better traffic flow in Wellington. And then also we're contributing about $1.5 million for a long-term study of Wellington, because the city, Medford, is very interested in trying to see if there's other possible solutions in the long term for Wellington that might make traffic through that area even better.
And then there's my favorite, the water taxi.
Yes, we're going to stick to the 3 main stops, which is our property, Seaport, and downtown. And then we'll see where we go from there. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk on the Somerville side as well. How do you look at dock on that side of the equation? Could there ever possibly be a link? As you know, we're funding a study for a bridge.
Well, that was going to be my next question,
and that is
the pedestrian bike bridge.
That's
and I see
really,
you have the off-site harbor walk here. And
correct.
There's some talk about going along the railway.
Absolutely. There are possibilities to connect to, I think it's upwards of 38 miles of different bike and pedestrian trails, connecting all the way through the Northern Strand.
Right.
So there's a couple missing pieces. In Everett, the City of Everett is working on getting underneath 16. So that's one area. The Gateway Plaza right across the railroad tracks from us also is involved in taking a piece of this trail and then connecting it all the way down behind our site and then connecting into our harbor walk that we're going to build. Well, once that piece is done and once you can get underneath 16, you've now opened up the entire Northern Strand.
And then your next
link is to take it over the water, land at Assembly. We already heard that the MBTA is in discussions about the piece in front of the MBTA part, and then of course Draw 7 Park and how that connects. If that is all connected, I think that is one of the most stunning opportunities down the road. Because literally you've opened up everything. You've opened up an opportunity for us to connect directly to a T-stop at the new Assembly stop.
Right.
I hope it happens. We think it would be terrific, because then actually, we're doing a lot of shuttling from Wellington and from Malden Center. If we can get some shuttles off the road as well and have people just walk and connect, that much better.
Jobs.
Oh, lots of them.
I was reading the surrounding community agreement. There's a lot of commitment to local jobs. It's a fully union construction site.
It is.
Are there opportunities for those who are not in unions to get apprenticeships to work their way into the union?
Absolutely. So we just concluded a series of 7 different jobs event, and we have one more coming up in Chinatown, actually later this month. We've been trying to make it perfectly clear that there's 2 opportunities. First opportunity is if you are already in the trades and already a member of one of the unions, there's immediate work available. And so we're trying to play the role of connecting A to B. So we've set up all these fairs. We have Suffolk Construction, who's our main general contractor on the project, and then a series of subs. So part of the real muscle behind these events is trying to connect people that want to work with the openings that exist. The other part is that the trades are willing to take in new folks that are not currently union members and put them through their apprenticeship programs. Now, each individual trade has their own set of rules, and all of this is, you can connect to all of this through our website. If people go to wynnbostonharbor.com and look at the career link, there's a way to link through so you can get in the information. Each of the trades has their own open houses for periods of time when they accept new members. But clearly, between our job and all of the other building that's going on in Somerville and in the greater Boston area, the Seaport, there's opportunities for folks that want to begin a career. And this would be, maybe Wynn might be your first job, but there'll be many more after that that'll be available. So 4,000 construction jobs. We have right now 320 workers on the site. By the end of the year, we'll be up to 500. And next year, we're going to ramp steadily till we grow to about 2,000. And so over the course of the job, it'll be about 4,000 unique individuals, but at peak, we'll have about 2,000 people on the site. So the opportunities are endless. And then after all of that,
but just before you go forward,
sure.
Tell us where people can go who are interested in the trades, in construction, to find out about the job fair and the possibilities of entering the trades, or if they are already a part of the trades, to find out about the jobs that might be available.
Easiest thing they can do, wynnbostonharbor.com, and then there's a click through. And so, I think the best way to get to that, we have listed all the different trade opportunities. We have phone numbers, websites for people to call. And so that would be the best way to do it.
Great. And then, yes, moving on. So once the construction is done and you are filling ongoing positions, the MCCTI is an interesting concept, working with community colleges,
Absolutely.
Increasing people who are qualified for these. Tell us about that program.
Great opportunity. And I've done this before. I did this with the community college down in Bethlehem with Northampton Community College. So we're already in discussions with Bunker Hill, and we've already talked to North Shore. Those 2 particular locations are an excellent opportunity for us to set up our gaming school. So the gaming school will be set up for those that might be interested in casino careers. You can go through a 12-week program, get certified, and then take an audition to see if you can join the Wynn organization in the casino. These are terrific jobs that will pay north of $50,000 right out of the chute. And that what we'll do is we'll bring in trainers that will ultimately work on the casino floor, and they will wind up being the teachers at the community college. And so right now we're thinking about where to put it. We'll try to either get space within the community college or maybe something nearby. We'll have opportunities for the community college network to link in, and we'll go ahead and actually set up and orchestrate that program in conjunction with the community college.
And those programs will be specifically for casino
workers. Training.
So
now there'll be much
dealers,
more than, yes.
Security,
surveillance,
IT.
Correct.
Okay.
All
now,
of those jobs.
Front of house, back of
now
house.
Now there's so much more.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to have probably close to 1,000 hospitality jobs. So for there, we have a couple different combos. We're working with Unite here, Local 26, for the Hotel Workers Union. They have a program called Best Corp, and they do a lot of training in conjunction with the industry. They're currently looking at, Brian Lang and his leadership team are looking to expand their program. We're looking to jump on with them and see if we can increase possibilities. Also, I'm going to be meeting shortly with UMass Boston. As you know, UMass and Amherst has a wonderful hospitality program, but they want to do more at the local campus. So that's another opportunity for us to do job recruitment and job training. BU has an excellent program. LaSalle College has an excellent program. We want to work very closely with the VOTEX. For example, we're working with Medford. Medford has a wonderful trades VOTEC type program that services not only Medford but Everett and the surrounding community.
Somerville has a great culinary
Somerville
program.
has a great culinary program. Everett High School has an excellent culinary program.
So will you be going into those schools to talk to those? Will you be sending representatives out to those
and
schools?
Recruiting and trying to get folks, because think about it, even if somebody comes to us, let's pick Everett High School as one opportunity. They may want to join us, go to work, but still, let's say, go to college. Then Wynn has tuition reimbursement programs. So if you're going to continue your education, you can get part of that money reimbursed. Somerville, right on our doorstep, great opportunity to combine. So we want to make sure that the young students in the area have some sort of an opportunity. As far as I'm concerned, we need 4,000 people, and we're going to need them in a very short period of time. I'm working with everyone, and I want to try to make this as inclusive as possible. June of 19 is when we're going to open, and so we think long and hard about the sort of this pre-opening period. What happens now is there's a very small crew, and then we add a little bit at a time. When we get to late 18 and into early 19, this thing is going to go off the charts. And so by then, we'll have a full complement of human resources team, recruiting team, and we will be out and about all over the place.
And in these neighboring community agreements, you have preferences, job fairs, I believe also working with local
the career
programs.
Centers, absolutely. And so,
and when do you see that so people can sort of have their ears
well,
open for
and
that?
what's happening now is all the emphasis is on construction jobs. And then as we get into this, we're going to transition into the operational jobs. We didn't rev up the operational so much now because the worst thing you can do is have a big career fair for the operational jobs that start in 2019. Have everyone come in, get all excited, and then tell them it's 32 months away. I'm going to go back to the Wynn Boston Harbor.com website. We have a hospitality and we have a talent network. You can join that now, and then you'll be notified of every opportunity. We're also going to start, we've been talking to the state about this, about getting some information out in the next 6 months or so about what might you need to be a future Wynn employee, because that's one of the questions we get all the time. And so we want people...
And that's also on your website.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, some of them are obvious. If you're in the hospitality industry, front desk, food and beverage, you know, food and beverage servers, cooks, all of those positions, engineering. You know, when you can think of almost any career, that career is in our building. And so, you know, whether it's accountants, whether it's horticulture, we're going to have an incredible 6.5 acre area to landscape and keep up. And so think about warehousing, procurement, IT, just about any job category you think of.
Kind of a mini city.
It's a city.
So, final question.
Sure.
When are Steve Wynn and Joe Curtatone going to sit down for that lunch?
That is going to happen this fall. I'm actually, it's funny, I called the mayor, I called the mayor's office this morning, and we're trying to put the two together. I can't give you the date yet, but it's coming soon to a theater near you. We are going to, actually, Mr. Wynn, I just saw him recently at the opening of the Wynn Palace in Macau, and he's very happy that we have worked out all of our issues. The mayor is happy that we're through all of that, and now we want to focus on going forward. And you know, when you think about it, and I learned a lot about Somerville in the process. I learned about that the mayor is interested in really three main things: mobility, which is how do you get people around the region and get cars off the road. He's interested in the health of the citizens of Somerville, which he should be, and I think that's terrific. And he's also interested in the environment. And when we cut through everything and we aligned up where we are, we found there was more in common that wasn't. And so we crafted a very nice cooperation agreement. We are looking forward to working with Somerville, all of its residents, the city, with Mike Glavin and the economic development folks, and we think we're going to have a great relationship with Somerville now and in the future.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
walking us through this.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate all the airtime.
We'll catch up with you, and
Let's do another update down
we'll
the
do
road.
an update maybe as construction finishes up and we start thinking about filling all those spots inside with retail in front of the house and back of the house employees.
Great. Thanks
Thank you.
again.